On this episode of the Bronze Metalist podcast, we talk about Harmony Corruption by Napalm Death. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Bronze Medalist podcast. I'm Kale.
I'm OJ.
We're two professional broadcasters, I think, and we like metal and we like to talk about it. We are in the middle of Death Metal December.
Death Metal December.
My favorite month of the year, the month where we talk entirely about the wonderful art that is death metal. And today we're talking about a classic, a death grind classic, perhaps you could call it, from Napalm Death. It's called Harmony Corruption. It came out in 1990. It was something that we were potentially going to go see live before the world exploded.
Philadelphia,
In Philadelphia, there was, I think it was Decibel Magazine's beer.
Beer and Metal Fest.
Beer and Metal Fest.
Local
hosted
breweries.
By Decibel. All kinds of local beer. And Napalm Death was going to be there playing all of Harmony Corruption and Utopia Banished. Converge was going to be there playing the entirety of Jane Doe. And
Prowler in the Yard.
Yeah, Pig Destroyer was going to be there playing all of Prowler in the Yard. And I presume something else. I can't remember. It'd be weird if they only played all of Prowler in the Yard, considering Napalm Death was going to be on stage for like 2 hours.
Yeah.
And
I think
Pig Destroyer's like, we're going to be out here for about 29 minutes.
I mean, Napalm Death has a longer sort of... legacy.
Napalm Death, has a bit of a legacy to it. So does Converge too. I mean, at the very least, if we're talking about lineups, Converge and Napalm Death have been around and successful for about the same amount of time.
Well, technically, Napalm Death formed in 1981.
Yeah. Napalm Death is almost 40 years old as a band that has been in continuous existence, but there's no original members of the band left. But the current lineup has been stable since 92, I think. It's been stable since Utopia Banished, which is the album after this one.
Did Mick Harris leave?
Mick Harris left.
Yeah.
Mitch Harris.
Right. Not to be confused.
Both of them played on this album, by the way. Yeah. Mick and Mitch Harris, who I don't believe are related.
They are not.
Both play on this album.
In fact, one of them American? No.
Yeah, Mitch Harris is American.
Yeah.
Mitch hasn't toured with them since about 2014. Their new album, which, by the way, I was listening to a little bit of earlier today.
It's really good.
It's very good.
Yeah.
It's very, very good.
Yeah. I mean,
it's different too. It's not exactly what you would expect from Napalm Death.
No, I mean, they've progressed. They've matured.
Which I always thought was like, something about Barney Greenway is he's a prog metal fan. Yeah. Like death metal is not his favorite genre of music. I mean, that's a lot of musicians. Their favorite genre is not necessarily what they play. But,
sure.
Like Barney Greenway has always been a prog metal fan, and he's performed like Metallica covers live with Dream Theater, which I've always thought is hilarious.
That's fantastic.
It's super interesting anyway. But Mitch Harris hasn't toured with them since about 2014. His dad was diagnosed with cancer and got sick, and so he came back to the U.S. to take care of him. And then since then has been basically just taking care of his family. But he's been contributing material and contributing recording material. Right. And as far as I know, everybody still considers him a full member of the band. It's just he doesn't tour anymore. But speaking of Dream Theater, I sent a text to you the other night. Or was it last night?
Was it the last night or the night before?
One of those. There's a Dream Theater's YouTube channel uploaded a live performance of them doing The Spirit Carries On from Metropolis Part 2, which is I said it was my favorite song on the album last time we talked about Dream Theater. And it sounded great. Of course, everybody was doing great. Mangini sounded fine. Sorry, Petrucci haters. Mike Mangini's a good drummer.
Yeah, he is.
And of course, Petrucci was great. Rudess was great. Mung was great. And then
Big Face.
And then old puffy face.
Struggling
We're
to
so
do it.
mean. We're so mean to James Labrie.
You know, I mean, his instrument is something that doesn't tend to age well in anybody.
You can't swap it out either.
Right.
You can't get a new one.
Right. If you break your guitar, you go buy a new guitar.
Yeah.
If you break your voice, I can't wait till the day where that's a fucking thing. That would be awesome.
I mean, that's some cyberpunk shit.
Yeah.
We'll talk a little bit more about cyberpunk in a bit. But,
oh, yeah.
But yeah, no, it's that would be cool if there was some miraculous surgery that could give him, you know, his vocal cords that he had when he was 25.
Right, 1990. His 1990 vocal cords.
His images and words
Yeah.
vocal cords would be great. His pre-disastrous trip to Cuba when he got that insane bout of food poisoning.
Ugh. And it ruined his voice.
But yeah, he was just, oh God, it was struggling so hard. And I think we've talked about this before. If you watch their recent live performances, he's pronouncing words really weirdly in an attempt to hit notes. Or just not bothering to enunciate the words at all.
Like the Vince Neil thing?
Yeah, from I almost said Motorhead, Motley Crue. Yeah. They're both bands that use an excessive amount of umlauts that have no effect on the way that the word is pronounced.
Because it should be Motley Crue
and Motorhead. But yeah, he's just doing this weird voice to try and hit notes, and it's not working. And I almost wish he would fail to hit the note but say the word correctly.
Sure. Or turn it into spoken blues kind of.
Yeah, or figure out I'm sure he could bring it a few steps down. Because I mean, a lot of the notes that he struggles the most with are of course the really high notes that he used to be able to hit that he just can't anymore.
Sure. I mean, there are other notes that will fit right there.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be that note.
Just give, because I mean, and the other musicians, they experiment and change up shit with their old songs all the time. Like Petrucci's solo is not the same. Like in the live performance, his solo there was not the same at all as what it's. I mean, it's basically it's the same progression, but it's it's changed it up quite a bit from the version on the album. Same with Jordan Rudess's keyboard solos and stuff. Like it's try and change what you can to fit the voice you have instead of trying to change your voice to fit what it can't do anymore.
Sure.
It's just kind of sad. I feel bad for him because he was a very good singer and his body just can't do it anymore.
He's in his 50s now, right?
Yeah. Somewhere in there. But yeah, I just feel a little bit bad. Because I watch videos like that and I'm like, man, this would be so much better if they just didn't have Labrie.
Oh, yeah.
It'd be so much more enjoyable if they found somebody to replace him. I just don't know. Because I've heard Labrie kind of has one of the reasons why the thing, they didn't let Portnoy back into the band is the two of them kind of butted heads. They both had fairly large egos. Sure. The two of them. And so I don't know if Labrie's ego would really ever allow him to say, you know what, I can't do this anymore. I'm going to step down, find somebody who can live up to the way the band is now. But I don't know, maybe I would love to see just as a tryout, just like someone out, like, oh, James was sick and this person came in to fill in. Oh, they sound amazing.
They could do like Boston did in their last days as Brad Delp was old. And you've heard Boston songs. He does a lot of the same stuff that Labrie does or used to, and so they would actually bring along on tour a supplemental vocalist.
To just fill in when...
To fill in, okay, this part of the song is going to be really high notes, so
we're going to have this guy do it.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, might as well. I do know in Suffocation, I can't remember the name of the vocalist for Suffocation, but he doesn't tour with them anymore. Frank something. He doesn't tour with them anymore. He just records the live albums and then they have somebody else tour with them. But I forgot, that was a while. When did Terrence Hobbs die? He was the guitarist for Ever and Ever for Suffocation. That was a while ago.
How did he die?
I don't remember. I don't think it was COVID. I don't think that happened this year.
Right.
But I honestly don't recall.
I mean, it was just like some sort of disease or natural cause of some sort. He wasn't murdered via suffocation. I think that's weird. I mean, has that ever happened where there was a metal band that had like a totally deadly band name, and then one of the members died by that total...
By that exact type of... It's probably happened. You could say that when Euronymous died, there was quite a bit of mayhem.
Yeah.
Varg caused quite a bit of mayhem there.
Right. Yeah, he did.
you could say. We mentioned Cyberpunk a little bit earlier. Mm-hmm. I didn't get a ton of time playing with it. I spent probably like 3-4 hours playing it on Sunday, and I haven't really gotten too much of a chance to play it since.
You say it's buggy.
It's not really so much on PC. There's a couple of things. Like there's a really there's a fairly common one that's happened where your buddy Jackie walks through a pair of elevator doors before they open.
Sure.
Like the elevator just doesn't open in time for the cutscene to work as the way it should. Other than that, it seems like I haven't experienced too many bugs on the PC version. The PC version looks gorgeous. Mm-hmm. I think I'm able to run it on pretty high settings, and it looks amazing.
Nice.
Which is the exact opposite experience that people have been having on Xbox Ones and PS4s.
Oh, really?
Where it not only is it buggy, but it also runs like complete ass. Like
really?
People are getting at most 20 FPS.
20 FPS?
Yeah.
Oh shit.
That's probably not constant. That's maybe a bit hyperbolic, but that's what I've been hearing.
That's not broadcast TV level quality.
And the graphical fidelity is pretty terrible on what is technically last generation consoles.
Sure. Now I'm worried about that. Max doesn't know this, and he doesn't listen to the podcast because that would traumatize him.
Yeah.
If he did. But he got the new Spider-Man game for PlayStation 5.
That's probably not nearly as bad because even though it's made for PlayStation 5, the new Spider-Man, like the Miles Morales one, as far as I know, was originally envisioned as DLC for the other Spider. Like it's like if you have a PS5, the graphics are going to be better, but I don't think it's going to play any worse on a PS4.
Okay, yeah, I'm just worried about that. It's going to be clunky.
No, I think it should run perfect, and also those games are made by Sony, aren't they?
Yeah,
like they're made by a Sony studio, so like I don't think Sony would be willing at all to put out a game made by one of their studios that doesn't run well on one of the consoles that it's supposed to be on.
Sure.
The problem with Cyberpunk is it was made by a third-party studio, which still doesn't quite answer how the hell it passed muster for Xbox and PS4. Like, how the hell did no one at Microsoft or Sony, when, they were working on the port to these consoles, how the hell did nobody go, this is not playable? We're not going to let you release this on our systems. Because the other thing is technically Xbox Ones and PS4s are last gen consoles, but really they're more still current gen consoles because no one can fucking buy a PlayStation 5. I don't think the supply problem has been nearly as bad for Xbox One S. No. What the fuck are they? Xbox Series X.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. I can't even remember the name. So obviously the supply problem hasn't been so bad. Like everybody is saying they can't get their hands on a PS5. I haven't heard anyone complain about being able to get a new Xbox. That's just what it is. It's the new Xbox. Don't bother with the rest of that shit. Just call it the new Xbox until it's not new anymore. And then it's just the Xbox. But no, as far as I know, it runs Cyberpunk runs pretty well on both of those systems. It's really meant to be played on PC as far as near as I can tell.
Then you would think it would be good for Xbox. I mean, if it's...
I'm not no computer scientist, so I don't really know. But I think maybe there's a bit more room, a bit more... There's also a lot more variation and whatnot when it comes to people's PCs.
Sure.
I think...
And you have a gaming PC. You have a beefy computer.
Yeah. I just don't know if it's for me, which sucks because I paid $60 for it, thinking maybe it was going to be for me. But because like I love The Witcher 3, but The Witcher 3 is also a fantasy, a third person fantasy RPG instead of a first person, cyberpunk corporate sort of RPG, which the part of the... we were planning on playing a game of Shadowrun, and I feel like some of the apprehension that I felt about the setting of Shadowrun, I sort of feel also about the setting of Cyberpunk, which is something about it just doesn't appeal to me very much.
Really?
Like all the corporate stuff and this idea, like the world of Cyberpunk and the Cyberpunk genre in general tends to be very dystopian. And part of the idea is it's the what to many modern libertarians is the absolute wet dream of theirs. To anybody else who has half a brain, it's a fucking nightmare.
Right.
Where corporations own literally everything. There's no government. And, 99% of the people live in terrible squalor, even though the base technology that they have is amazing. But it's absolutely nothing compared to what the super rich are able to buy. Even though to our eyes it looks like fucking magic.
Sure.
But like something about that idea for a setting just doesn't quite sit with me, and that's with Shadowrun as well. Shadowrun has the fantasy elements in it as well, whereas Cyberpunk is a bit more grounded. But like something about it, also just the complexity. Cyberpunk seems to be a very dense game. Like I got into my first real fight and I was getting hacked, because that's the thing. Since you have so many cybernetics in you, can be hacked. And so like I couldn't tell where I was getting hacked from. I couldn't tell what was hacking me. I didn't know how to stop getting hacked. It was just like you can get basically attacked and they'll like overheat your cybernetics.
Sure.
And you literally start on fire, and it's just like draining your health down.
Right. On
normal, it's kind of hard to die super quickly. And it's sort of the same thing where enemies take a shitload of hits because it's an RPG.
Sure.
It's a shooter RPG, not a straight shooter. So it's like the gunplay feels fairly clunky, primarily because you're having to manage these other systems while you're also shooting and getting shot at.
Sure.
And that seems like a big pain in the ass to me. So far, like the RPG elements of it and the story seem interesting to me. I like the characters they've introduced so far. I didn't get very far into it, but like I need more time. And really, I guess I bought the game, so I would be doing myself a disservice if I didn't put at least as much time into this as I did with like The Witcher 3, which I never finished The Witcher 3.
Really?
I got pretty far into The Witcher 3, but also the thing with The Witcher 3 is you get your money's worth out of it without necessarily finishing it, because it's an insanely long game. That was even before like Blood and Wine came out, which Blood and Wine was free, I think, or it was like $20 or something like that. It was a DLC that was basically a whole new game. It was another 40 hours or something of story content. It was nuts. So I gotta try and get my money's worth out of Cyberpunk, because I'm not getting a refund at this point. It's been too long. But I'm also trying to figure out, I think part of why the combat feels so dense to me is I don't think CD Projekt Red really knows how to make mouse and keyboard controls feel intuitive. Because there's so much you're trying to do at once. Like I have The Witcher 3 on my PC. I haven't played it very much on my PC. It didn't cost me very much because it was an older game at that point. Sure. But I have it on my PC, and The mouse and keyboard controls for The Witcher 3 are fucking nonsense. So I was like, fuck this, I'm playing with a controller. And I think I might have to do that with Cyberpunk as well, just because for some reason it makes more sense to my brain to have the actions mapped to buttons on a controller rather than shit like that on a mouse and keyboard. Like Doom Eternal for some reason is fine, but that's also a very focused game,
hyper focused game.
It's a very very focused game, and so much of the stuff that you're doing, especially for me, so much of I mapped almost all of the actions other than moving in Doom Eternal to my mouse. All my weapon swapping, my grenades, switching weapon attachments and stuff, like hot swapping everything. I put all that shit on my mouse.
Really?
So like switching weapons.
Well, you have a fancy mouse though. You have more buttons.
Yeah. I have a whole bunch of buttons on the side, and then the mouse has, of course, click in the middle, and then the mouse also moves left and right. The mouse wheel, that is, moves left and right. You can click it left, you can click it right. That serves the function on like a browser of going back and forward on web pages and stuff. But on Doom, I can use it. I use left to swap weapon attachments, I think, and I use right to swap grenade types, because you have your ice bomb and your regular grenade, and then clicking the middle is launching whatever bomb that is. And that's sort of the setup that I've kept for like Halo. I always use middle click as throwing grenades and stuff like that. So maybe I just need to set things up the way I have other first-person shooters set up for Cyberpunk. I also just feel like I don't exactly know how much there is. Like I don't feel, and again, I didn't get very far into it. I don't know if I've come across all the things that I will need to have mapped to buttons so far. But yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about it just yet. I'm a little worried that maybe it's just not for me.
All right.
But I don't know.
I finished watching season 2 of The Boys.
Hey, there we go.
Yeah.
How about that ending?
Did not see that coming.
Yeah. Also,
did not see that coming.
Yeah. Also, the most shocking thing towards the end of was an episode, because there were 8 episodes, right?
Yeah.
Was the end of episode 6, where, spoiler alert for The Boys season 2, if you haven't watched it. I think that's Hannah and Josh primarily. I don't know if you guys have watched it. But towards the end of episode 5 or 6, where they're at the House hearing and everybody's heads explode.
Episode 7.
That's episode 7, where like 40 people's heads explode.
I had to go back and watch that.
God,
because of how it ends.
Yeah. Oh boy, that is a scene. My goodness.
Lots of carnage in a courtroom.
Incredible amount of carnage.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I also finished my new computer setup.
Yeah. New desk.
I have a new desk.
Nice.
It has, the whole thing is basically covered in one giant mouse pad. I got new speakers that I'm a little disappointed in. That doesn't seem to have, the bass seems to be a little lacking. I'm trying to figure out some way to make that work. But yeah, new stuff.
And I haven't shaved for a couple of days, because I wanted to see what does my hair look like now if it came out. You'll notice it's pretty white.
Oh yeah, it's you've been your beard has decided. Well, it's time.
It's time.
I mean, considering that you're a ginger,
yeah.
Like there are plenty of guys in their like mid 30s. That have lots and lots of gray in their beard.
You know, it goes either way. I mean, either when you're a redhead, you either go gray really fast, or you stay a redhead until you die.
Yeah. It's either or for some reason.
So far, I don't have any gray in my hair.
Yeah,
just in the beard.
But beards tend to go gray first for most men, as I understand. Men who can actually grow a decent beard. I'm trying right now, because no one really has to look at my face very often.
Sure.
So
it looks fine.
No, it doesn't.
It's fine.
You're sweet. Stop it.
No, it's not. I mean, it's consistent.
Consistently, yeah. I'm giving it a shot. I'm just seeing what the old face can do. What's this face got in it? We'll find out. So let's get talking about Harmony Corruption.
Sure.
So the year was 1990. Napalm Death had theoretically been around since 1981. They started out
the same guys,
mostly as a sort of crust punk band. They were, the two founding members were both in their teens when the band got started. That was Nick Bullen and Miles Ratledge, I believe.
Neither of those guys are in the band now.
It's an incredibly British name. But yeah, sort of started out in sort of the crust punk kind of area and eventually wound up being one of the most important acts in the nascent grindcore scene. Because that's really what grindcore started out as, is it was just sort of really, really, really loud and fast punk that like hardcore punk that was mixed with some metal in there, and then you get grindcore basically.
And in fact, you know how I came upon Napalm Death?
How was that?
I was subscribed to a video magazine called Hard and Heavy. I believe I've told you about that before.
It sounds like a porn magazine.
It does. And I Googled it earlier because it was Hard and Heavy, wasn't it? And believe it or not, very little porn came up.
Really?
Yeah, I was talking a lot about metal. I was very happy.
I'm incredibly surprised by that.
I was very happy. But it was this video series, and it came up periodically starting in 1989. I don't know when it ended because I only get like 2 or 3 of them, and I canceled my subscription because I can't remember why. But then it was the year I graduated high school. I was at Budget Music and Video. They had a used VHS section of music.
Oh, wow.
At Budget Music and Video. And it was the Hard and Heavy grindcore edition.
Oh, my God.
That you could buy. And Hard and Heavy was great because it was interviews with bands, and we had concert footage. And when we were done with that, then we have some mildly violent pornographic cartoons.
I mean, that's like the movie Heavy Metal.
Yeah, it was kind of in that vein. And then we go talk to another band. Then, of course, in the early days, it was like Quiet Riot and Cinderella and Rat and that kind of thing. Then it got a little thrashy around 1990, 91. Yeah. And then this is the last one I ever saw. It was this grindcore edition. It had the Grim Reaper on the cover.
Wow.
And it was, I mean, obviously, Atlantic Records produced this thing. And obviously, nobody in the company had fuck all idea what grindcore was. Is it grindcore? Is it like, is there guitars in it? Well, that's it. Because I mean,
I think grindcore was the '90s term for like grindcore. Seems like people in that sphere use grindcore back then the way that people use screamo now.
Perhaps, yeah.
Like screamo now is used by like people who have no idea what metal is. They'll call anything that has screamed vocals in it screamo. It doesn't matter if it's fucking
emo at
progressive. It doesn't matter if it's progressive death metal. That's screamo. Even though screamo is just emo with louder vocals. Screamo is sad. The saddest Panic at the Disco song, with louder vocals. That's what screamo is.
Would you have a child that listens to Panic at the Disco loudly?
They're not a bad band.
For 14-year-old, that's fine. But no, this
oh, I have so many friends that would be so mad at you right now that are my age.
No, they're fine. They're fine.
I missed the boat on so many like of that era of like emo pop punk sort of bands.
Sure.
Like I totally missed the boat with all like Panic at the Disco and My Chemical Romance and stuff like that. Like I completely missed the boat.
Or what's the band that played at the fair here a couple of years ago? The bass player is famous.
Fall Out Boy?
Fall Out Boy, yeah.
Yeah, I missed the boat with Fall Out Boy as well.
But yeah, this video had Paradise Lost on it.
Oh, wow.
Which is grindcore.
Yeah, Paradise Lost, famous grindcore band.
Yes, it had, what's the weird, the weird industrial band, singer sometimes sings on Mastodon albums.
Neurosis?
Neurosis.
I would call Neurosis like a post-metal band.
Yeah, they were on there. Also, Morbid Angel, Carcass, and Entombed.
Oh, wow. I mean... So, but Napalm Death was there as well.
Napalm Death was the highlight.
Probably the only band that you've named that you could really call grindcore,
right,
depending upon the record.
And and the funny thing is that looking back on it, I hadn't really listened to Napalm until that video came out.
Yeah.
Like, fuck, I love this. Where has this been? And the song on there was Except for the Children.
Okay.
They had doing live in concert. Like, when does this album come out? It comes out 2 fucking years ago.
The whole it would be funny if the whole Napalm Death section was just You Suffer.
Yeah. No interview.
That was it.
Nothing. Yeah.
No interview. It was just like, and now Napalm Death. He's a boy.
He's a boy.
The lyrics are "You suffer, but why?"
Yeah.
Not that you could really hear Lee Dorian actually saying that.
No.
But yeah, that was the before that. One of their more famous albums, at least from their grindcore era, is Scum, which is basically the grindcore album in a lot of ways. I mean, there are certainly other albums that probably came before it, but I think Scum is kind of what codified for like the 90s. Like, this is grindcore. It's loud and fast and messy and quick.
Right.
It is brief. Grindcore is
there's like 40 songs and it's like a 6-minute album.
Yeah, it's like grindcore is anywhere between 10 seconds and a minute. That's a grindcore song. Right. And up to 2 minutes maybe if you're pushing it. Bands like Pig Destroyer, I think, have a Pig Destroyer, to me, because it's the grindcore band I've listened to the most, has the most listenable of a lot of grindcore I've listened to. I also think oh gosh, I can't remember the name. Gridlink had a fairly good version of the grindcore sound. That was a bit more, slightly more polished. It was still very noisy, but like there were elements of it that were kind of polished. But in any case, eventually Lee Dorian left the band. Bill Steer has kind of been in and around Napalm Death as well.
Yeah,
from Carcass.
From Carcass, right?
He's been in and around the band. But eventually, I guess I didn't look too much about exactly why or how Lee Dorian left the band. Lee Dorian ended up later going on to, what band was Lee?
Is it Cathedral?
Dorian? Yeah, Lee Dorian went on to do Cathedral, which is a doom metal band.
Yeah,
which is so wild. Yeah, going from Napalm Death
to
super fast, super loud, super methy to a doom metal band.
Right.
Well, although it's weird, right? Because I think like sludge metal and certain doom metal songs, sludge and doom is in a lot of ways very much like grindcore if you slowed it way down.
Right.
They're very similar, especially more so sludge than doom. If you've got a band like I Hate God or something like that. Is super sludgy and or even what was When the Kite String Pops, Acid Bath. Like Acid Bath is very much, if they played fast but kept everything else about the band the same, that's grindcore basically.
Right. And there was some faster elements too.
Yeah. But if their songs were so fast, they were 30 seconds.
Right.
But kept the tone, the guitar tone, the lyrical themes, everything, like, because it's murder and drugs and politics and stuff like that. That's grindcore.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's murder and drugs and politics.
Yeah. And Napalm Death are very, very political.
Very. I need to listen to more of their newest album.
Yeah.
But that is there's a lot of stuff on the newest album where basically Greenway's lyrics is I think they've been working on it for quite a while, but boy, I mean, it came out this year,
right?
And it came out in June or July or something like that, or maybe more recently. I don't remember, but it's for an album that's been in the works for a while. It's oddly prophetic. But in any case, Lee Dorian eventually went on to found Cathedral, or be one of the people of Cathedral,
vocalist,
and eventually they replaced him with let's see what did it say here? Yeah, it doesn't say why Lee Dorian left the band, just that, Bill Steer went on to dedicate himself full-time to Carcass. Dorian formed doom metal group Cathedral. So they brought in Barney Greenway, also known as Mark Greenway.
Right.
By a few people. I think everybody calls him Barney.
His mom probably calls him Barney.
It's entirely possible. Yeah. It's kind of funny, the origin of his nickname being the fact that he used to just get so drunk that he would just run into shit and break stuff. And so people started calling him Barney Rubble.
Because it rhymes with trouble.
Yeah. And they just ended up shortening it to Barney.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Because that's Cockney slang, right? Even though he's from Birmingham.
Yeah.
That's if you're in Barney, you're in trouble.
Yes. But he eventually went on to, he's been the lead vocalist, the only vocalist for Napalm Death.
Who does backing vocals for Napalm Death?
Well, I mean, there's a couple of guest features on. Sure. John Tardy's on one of these tracks from Obituary. Uh-huh. But I found listening to this, because I haven't listened to a ton of Napalm Death before. I found listening to this, Barney Greenway's vocals, because on this, he doesn't really do any high vocals. It's almost entirely low, like guttural growls.
Right. So like rocks in a dishwasher.
His style sounds like, it reminds me almost exactly of the way that Travis Ryan does his low growls. It's just that Travis tends to have a fair amount of effects, and Travis's growls are always layered on their albums to make them sound a bit more dense. Greenway's vocals can sound a little thin in certain places here, because he's like you said, it's just like you're pouring out a bucket of gravel, basically. And just, I think it's like gurgles coming all the way from the back of the throat. Yeah. It's sort of on the other end of the spectrum from something like not necessarily in terms of pitch, but like in terms of density, something like Corpse Grinder. Sure. Like George Fisher's vocals are very full bodied. It's like it's a wine. Yeah.
They have a good nose.
George Fisher is also very full bodied.
very, very oaky.
Yeah. George Fisher himself, a very full bodied man.
Full necked.
But his vocals just reminded me of Travis Ryan's, which also, I've mentioned this before. Yeah. I just think Barney Greenway looks like Travis Ryan's English older brother. They have a fair bit of resemblance to each other, in my opinion.
Yeah, Barney's only like 6 years older than Travis.
Yeah, he's not that much older. Yeah. Barney Greenway been doing his thing for quite some time. Yeah. Animal rights. Another thing he has in common with Travis Ryan. Animal rights, being vegan when you can. Yeah. Socialism. And being a death metal vocalist.
Anarchy. He's really into anarchy.
Yeah.
Are they both into anarchy? I think they're both into anarchy.
I think they're both fairly into the whole anarchy thing. I hope they've met. Yeah, they have to have met.
Yeah, they travel in the same circles in the globe. I mean, you'd think at some point they'd stumble over one another.
Travis Ryan and Barney Greenway have to have met, and I'd love to hear the two of them talk to each other. That'd be amazing.
I'd like to hear a duet.
Oh my God, that'd be great. I'd love to hear that. The other members of the band, we got Shane Embry, who's been around for quite some time. Was this Shane Embry's first album?
No, I feel like it wasn't.
Yeah, Shane. I think he had been around for a little while.
I actually dated a girl who looked kind of like Shane Embry.
You've mentioned that, which is unfortunate.
Shane Embry's not a handsome dude.
Shane Embry is not even a handsome man, much less a handsome woman. Mm-hmm. He's got a very distinctive look. He does. And he's an incredibly he looks like a dwarf. He looks like a fantasy dwarf.
He kind of does.
Yeah. You expect him to have a pickaxe basically and be grumbling about his long lost gold.
I have a picture of Shane Embry posing with the Residents.
I think you showed me that picture.
The Residents.
Yeah. I mean, hey, like, that's the thing, though. Like, even though, death metal is, of course, in a certain circle. Yeah. I feel like once you get to a certain level of weird, there's a lot of cross pollination of fan bases and musicians.
You got to realize when this started out, when Napalm Death was starting out, what they were doing was incredibly esoteric. This is not a lot of precedence for Napalm Death doing what they did. I mean, now you hear it and you go, oh yeah, it's one of those things.
Yeah, this is grindcore.
Yeah, but then it's like, what the fuck is this? This is crazy.
Yeah. So Harmony Corruption was basically their first album that was probably a 70-30 as far as 70%. I would call it 70% death metal, about 30% grindcore.
Sure. About from Enslavement to Obliteration, was that the name of the previous
something like that? Their album titles are great.
Yeah.
I love their album titles. Yeah. That's
what I'm saying.
From Enslavement to Obliteration was 1988, and then Harmony Corruption 1990.
Right.
So yeah, that was the last album with Lee Dorian. And that one a bit more death metal, or was that more like a 50-50?
It was more like a 50-50.
If we call Scum like a 70-30, like 70% grindcore, 30% death metal.
Yeah, it was 30%. It was 70% grindcore, 30% music.
I mean, that was AC's whole thing was anti-music, basically.
Yeah. They were. I mean,
yeah, that was what they were trying to do. Part of the whole idea was like, this is not music.
No,
this is
we
want this. We don't want this to be seen as music. We want this to be seen as sonic terrorism.
Yeah.
And it is. Good God, I just can't. I cannot stand anal cunt.
You have to. You should do an AC album one of these times. Just talk about it. Just discuss the history of the band and their impact on.
I mean, they have had a huge impact. It's just like it's also having to talk about Seth Putnam.
Sure,
what a person Seth Putnam was. Just Seth Putnam. His life kind of feels like he is a recurring character from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. He feels like one of Rickety Cricket's weird friends. Which is also why he died.
Well, sure.
But it's like Seth Putnam was just, oh God. And it's kind of interesting to me because like Scott Hull, who is a person, as far as I can tell, has his shit together. Scott Hull is the lead guitarist for Pig Destroyer.
Right.
In the creator of Agoraphobic Nosebleed and whatnot. As far as I can tell, Scott Hull actually has his shit together. And then being in a band with someone like Seth Putnam, just, like Scott Hull is, as far as I know, still employed by the government full time. Like he's like a computer science dude that works in some capacity for the government. I can't remember precisely how, but he probably just fixes servers or some shit. But
that would be great. He goes somewhere to fix somebody's. He's an IT dude. He shows up.
Someone's like, "Are you Scott Hull? Are you the guy from Pig Destroyer?" Yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, dude. You know we're both government employees, right? I'm at work. I'm not on stage right now. Leave me alone. But we were talking about, what was his name? Shane Embry.
Shane Embry, yeah.
The lineup has been stable since 1992. It's been let's see what's the official list here. It's been Shane Embry, Mitch Harris, Danny Herrera, and Mark Barney Greenway.
Mark Barney Greenway. So, do you think this album slaps? Of course.
Yes, it very much slaps.
Yeah.
I was having a little trouble finding like reviews for this.
Really?
In the sense that like finding stuff that was that had a score attached to it instead of just like, this is one of my favorite albums we're going to talk about because it's old.
Sure. It's 30 years old.
Yeah. This didn't get a Metacritic rating when it came out.
No, it didn't. And you know what? It was so hard back in the day. This is why I didn't find out about this till it was out 2 years.
Yeah.
This is because there was no Metacritic. There's no internet. There was magazines.
There's no aggregator to tell you like this. Here's a thing you might like.
You know, and in fact, heavy metal was one of those things that it kind of saved me on a social level.
Yeah.
Because I wanted
You had to know somebody.
Yeah, I hate this guy, but I want to hang out with him because he knows where all the cool metal albums are coming out. Otherwise, I would never be associated with this asshole.
I gotta be friends with this dude to get the cool music.
Mm-hmm.
This is my guy. This is my metal dealer.
Yeah, totally.
Basically.
Yeah, I did. I have a metal dealer in the Philippines named Jerry. He was Jerry. He was in the 8th grade and he had Liberty spikes. And he introduced me to some weird shit.
Like outside of metal or just...
No, just metal.
Just metal. Okay.
Yeah. I had a big crush on his little sister.
Ah, classic.
Yeah.
The old Harry Potter, Ginny Weasley situation.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
But that's what sprang to mind for whatever reason.
Strange,
yeah. Oh, that's you.
Oh, yeah.
I thought someone was knocking on the door. Stop it. Stop it.
All right. Sorry.
You fucked me up now.
Fucked you up.
You fucked me up, dude. And I feel like having to know somebody is still, I think, the way that a fair amount of people get into metal. Like, that's how I got into metal. But the time that I was getting into metal, I could go on YouTube and stuff and find songs, but I didn't know where to start.
Right.
And it was my buddy Mason that, gave me let me listen to some Linkin Park and some Avenged Sevenfold and some A Day to Remember and stuff like that. And that's how I got into like heavy music. Was being introduced to it by somebody. But ever since being introduced to it, I've been able to just be like, okay, what's a thing like this on the internet? And it tells me.
It just dawned on me right now that the dude who gave me the cassette tapes, one of which had Kill 'Em All and Ride the Lightning.
Yeah.
It was either side on a Maxell tape. And then another tape was a Maxell tape that had Rain and Blood on both sides.
So you could listen to it once all the way through.
Yeah.
Just turn it over, listen to it again. Didn't even have to rewind.
Nope. Actually, you had to fast forward. So otherwise you wouldn't get to the beginning of the next side. Because each side is 45 minutes.
Oh, so there was
it was extra.
There was, 11 minutes of silence or whatever.
That guy turned 47 today.
Happy birthday to him.
Happy birthday, Jason Tarver. He's not listening right now, I'm sure, but
happy birthday to you. Oh, something that I forgot to mention while we were talking about Cyberpunk earlier, something that did endear me to it is while you're in your car, there are different radio stations, and one of them seems to play exclusively like slightly futuristic. Well, I mean, it's not really that futuristic because to me, it just sounds like atmospheric black metal. It's just like all like all the songs. Every time I've gotten into my car, I haven't spent a lot of time in the car listening to the radio, but like all the songs so far has been like, that sounds like Numenorian. Like this song sounds a little bit like Mole or something. Like it sounds like like black gaze or like ambient black metal. Or not. It's not really that ambient, but it's like. Right. It's a bit more spacey and a bit more, polished and well produced than like cult black metal stuff.
And by the way, that's what Mick Harris left the band to go do. I don't know if you know that or not. The drummer, Mick Harris, who is a total character. I've seen interviews with him and he's hilarious. But he went on to do dark ambient music.
Okay. I thought you were going to say black metal.
No, dark ambient. I mean, it sounds... Nice. Yeah, sounds like it's nighttime and you're gonna die.
Yeah, it's spooky. Spooky ambient music. It's like I mean, you could like the Sun album we listened to.
Right.
You could probably call that dark ambient.
Right. Yeah, that's the kind of music that you play. That Sun album, like next Halloween, I think I'm doing that. If kids are coming into the neighborhood, putting a speaker outside, I'm just gonna play that.
Just gonna blast Black One. Yeah. That, I mean, like I said, the first time I listened to that, it was 2 a.m. and I was in a strange house, sleeping on the couch, and the window, the windows just had, shutters over that or blinds or whatever, and just being able to look through the gaps in the blinds and going like. Yeah, no, I'm going to not listen to this. But what's your favorite song on Harmony Corruption?
I think it's because it's the first Napalm Death song I ever heard, and it hooked me right away. Suffer the Children, I think.
Okay. I have to say The Chains That Bind Us.
That's my second favorite one.
The Chains That Bind Us is a pretty good song. I'm trying to remember. What's the song that has John Tardy on it?
What song is that with John Tardy?
John Tardy.
You know, it's funny.
It's the Tardy Boys.
I think he comes in late in the album.
It is fairly late, it seems. Harmony Corruption, the video.
I made a dumb joke and nobody noticed.
I was focusing on other things. I was looking, what is the song? Does it say, it's Unfit Earth, which is song number 5, so it's halfway through the album. And that was...
So, yeah. Halfway through the album, we get Tardy.
At this point, I think Shane Embry writes most of the songs, whereas back then it seems like Mick Harris was doing most of the songwriting. Mm-hmm. There was one song that was Mitch Harris, and then a couple that was one that was the drummer, and then a few that were Shane Embry. But I think the new album was like entirely, all the music was written by Shane Embry, all the lyrics were written by Barney. Mm-hmm. So what medal are you bestowing upon this, like Maskanata to Chewbacca?
Because it's so important to me, I'll give it a gold.
It's a good thing that gold doesn't tarnish, because that metal is just covered in grime and just nasty, gross death metal stuff. I personally, I'll give this a silver, just because to me, and you sent me a text early this week. I think actually after the night we recorded our previous episode, you were like, you'll probably think this is a little bit basic, but I love this album, and that's kind of how I feel. This is good. It's a good album. I don't dislike it by any measure. It's just it's not quite what I look for when I listen to death metal. But like so many things, I tend to, I'm a sucker for things that are fairly dynamic, which is part of why I enjoyed like that Gorguts album last week so much. Is there's so much more going on. Like I enjoy, just a fucking brutal good time. I enjoy that, but it's not something that sticks with me so much. And that's part of why I like their new album so much more, is it's got so much more going on. It's what I've listened to. It has so much more to it.
I have to give it a full spin.
It just like the sound in the songwriting is like, oh, there's a bit more too. They threw some more stuff in here. Some odd twists that you maybe don't expect a band like Napalm Death to be taking, especially a band that as an institution has existed for 40 years and has been playing more or less the same type of music for 30. You kind of think like, well, they're not going to do something new. And then lo and behold, an album like this comes out and, oh, they did do something kind of new.
Right. It's like that other grindcore band, Paradise Lost. They did with their newer stuff.
Well, and I don't know if it was necessarily all that new. It was just like, hey, what if we added screamed vocals back in because Nick is feeling a bit more healthy.
Sure.
Because like Nick, what's his last
Holmes.
name? Yeah, old man Nick.
Yeah,
Nick Holmes eventually decided to stop screaming on.
Right. Well, he had to have surgeries.
Yeah, he had to have nodes and shit removed from his vocal cords.
Right.
He's like, okay, I'm done doing screamed vocals on Paradise Lost albums. But then for whatever reason, Bloodbath was like, hey, do you want to be in a death metal band? And he was just like, Sure, I guess so. And then I guess after, being in Bloodbath for a while, he was like, you know what? I can do this in a more healthy manner now.
Right.
He has a better technique these days, as it would seem, that's not causing as much damage to his vocal cords. So
but I do still feel like the new Paradise Lost stuff is like far advanced emotionally and musically from their stuff in the 90s. I need to give their newest album another spin. I have it on vinyl. Last time I went to you had the new Paradise Lost on vinyl?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah, I went to I don't know if we even talked about this. It was last month at some point.
Record store day or?
Yeah, it was record store day. It was Record Store Day number 3 or 4 this year.
Right.
Because they split it up. Instead of having one Record Store Day, they did like 3 or 4 of them.
Right.
It was the last one that I went to, and I got a bunch of new stuff. What did I even get? I don't remember. I don't remember what I got.
You know, it's so sad. I do not own a stereo. I haven't owned a stereo in a long time. And
you don't really need one.
Well, you don't. But the problem is that I have children, and what a parent's duty is to infect their children with
their interests.
With their interests, yeah.
Force your interests on your children.
Yeah,
folks.
exactly. I mean, there's a little place in the back of my head that has a soft spot for Elvis because it's Ricky Nelson and certainly the Beatles. Mom loved the Beatles, and that's all a part of my childhood and a part of my growing up. And my children don't have my influence on them.
I suppose there is a part of me that has a soft spot for Journey. It was my mom's favorite band, and also Bruce Springsteen.
Sure,
I haven't made an earnest effort to listen to more Bruce Springsteen beyond like what's been on the radios.
Give his greatest hits a spin, and certainly go back into the 70s.
Yeah,
all of that's very excellent stuff.
I just think it's so interesting, also that. In the more recent period, he's been, touring with, he's been, one of the members of his band is fucking, oh no. Wow.
Oh, Tom Morello?
Yeah, Tom Morello is one of the members of his band.
Oh, that reminds me. Speaking of Tom Morello, we got home I picked up my son from school this week. I can't remember what day it was. Maybe it was yesterday. And we got home, and Max is like, I don't have any homework, and I'm not really hungry. I'm kind of sleepy. I want to lay down in bed, but I want to watch a movie. Dad, you want to watch a movie with me? I'm like, of course, my son. I'll sit down and we'll watch a movie with you.
What'd you watch?
Iron Man.
Oh.
With Tom Morello.
Is Tom Morello in Iron Man?
Yeah. He dies in the first half of the movie.
Who the fuck is Tom Morello in Iron Man?
He plays guard number 1. I'm watching it and I'm watching this. It's a movie I've seen like 15 times.
Yeah.
And now I'm watching it. I'm looking at the guards. I'm actually looking at people's faces. I'm going, that's fucking Tom Morello. What? And then I went to the internet, and sure as shit, I was right.
Why the fuck was Tom Morello in Iron Man? Just John Favreau and Robert Downey Jr. just like
Rage Against the Machine fans, or
yeah, because I can totally see Robert Downey Jr. being like a Rage Against the Machine fan, because he's like that's part of why Tony Stark is always wearing like Black Sabbath t-shirts and shit.
Right, he likes hard rock and metal.
That's
but
Robert Downey Jr.'s interest.
I think it goes both ways there, because Tom Morello is a huge nerd. I mean,
it's true.
He loves sci-fi, and comic books, and
no one that's not super nerdy straps their guitar that high on their chest. Anybody who straps their guitar that tightly is a giant nerd.
That used to be a thing you could tell, by the way. You could see a poster of a band in concert. You knew how heavy they were by how low the bass guitar was to the ground.
Yeah. Which way did it go?
If that Warlock 5-string bass is touching the wood of the stage, that is one fucking heavy band right there. You know it.
So some things don't change, because that was a thing in metalcore.
Yeah.
That became a thing in metalcore, is like just letting the bass guitar just hang all the way down.
Yeah.
There was a band called Attack that sort of became infamous for a certain music video where the guitar, every member of the band was basically doing a crab pose. And it sort of started a trend that some people called crabcore. It was basically the pose that people would take, and it was like sort of metalcore mixed with a little bit of electronic music and whatnot. That idea of it, but
crabcore.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say that you watched Pacific Rim again, because Tom Morello's on the soundtrack to that.
Right, he's on the soundtrack. He's also in Voyager. You remember that, right?
He's Voyager, like Star Trek Voyager.
Yeah. Yeah, he plays.
I didn't know that.
He plays an ensign on there.
But again, Tom Morello is a giant nerd.
Yeah. Yeah.
That must be great to just be like, I wonder exactly how that works for him getting on there. Is it like someone did he meet like a producer or something at like a concert and was just like, you work on Star Trek Voyager. Can I be on the show? I will do anything.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit.
That might have been it. It's like, hey, will you sign this? Oh, yeah. Will you sign this? What's this? It's my SAG card.
Yes. Well, it's like not to say the cursed names of Dumb and Dumber for Game of Thrones.
Sure.
But I can't remember which one of them is it. If it was David Benioff or Dan Weiss, I can't tell the difference between the two of them.
Does he say it Weiss?
I think it's Weiss. It might be Weiss. I don't know.
Weiss.
In any case, it's spelled like Weiss.
Sure.
But it might be American.
With a W.
Yeah, it might be. Well, the German spelling is also with a W. They just pronounce it as a V. But
because there's no what in German.
One of the two of them is a big Mastodon fan.
Right, and they were on the show.
Yeah, there was I think the Hard Home episode. They
were wildlings.
Yeah, they were wildlings that get turned into whites. And there was a shot that I think Braun kept on ruining because he, or I don't think he kept on ruining it, but he was worried he was going to ruin it because he wasn't like holding perfectly still because he was supposed to be dead. Like it was the scene leading up to the Night King, like raising his hands up and
as they were sailing off.
Yeah. Bringing all the dead back to life. And before that, he was like, I can't hold still. Who would have thought Bron Daler has trouble holding still?
He just laying on that beachhead, flickety flamming.
Oh, Brent Hines is a treasure.
Yes, he is.
Brent Hines is such a treasure. All right. So it's time to put this old puppy to bed.
What
next week I decided we're going to listen to Human. For Chuckmas. It's Chuckmas next week.
Is it going to be Chuckmas next week?
It is going to be Chuckmas next Wednesday, because Christmas Eve is on Thursday.
Fuck. Okay.
Yeah.
I haven't got my wife anything yet. Shh. What do I get her?
I don't know. You're asking the wrong person.
The problem is she buys, if she sees, hey, that's cool, she buys it. She doesn't say, I wish I could have that. She's like, no, I'm take charge. She's a take charge person.
Yeah.
She gets what she wants.
Well, I guess in that sort of situation, that's when you buy something that's more about the feeling behind. That's when instead of buying something like, I knew you really wanted this, instead of buying something that they really want, you buy something that's just a nice gesture, rather than, like you really wanted this and you can really use it. You're barking up the wrong tree. Well, I'm terrible at giving gifts.
Oh yeah, sure. Well, actually, you've been pretty good so far. You and I give each other a gift once a year.
The thing is I talk to you every week, and we share. We have a lot of common interests. Yeah. I have a lot more in common with you than members of my own family.
Well, sure.
As far as like interests and things that I could buy for you.
Right.
I am more. I have a better idea of things that I could buy for you that you would enjoy than I do with members of my family, generally speaking.
Weird. Kale got me a personal massager.
But yeah, next week we're gonna talk about Human.
Excellent.
Chuckmas.
Great record.
Partially, I decided to go with Human partially because it's just we're continuing chronologically.
So we'll do individual thought patterns next year.
Yeah, next year, and then after individual thought patterns? That's symbolic, right?
Symbolic, yeah.
And then it's Sound of Perseverance, and then we can get all the way back to the beginning for Scream Bloody Gore.
We can, or we can do what was the side project that Chuck did?
Oh God.
That actually was really good, and he sings on it. I mean, like vocal singing, like notes and shit.
Are we at all surprised that it was really good?
Well, no, because it's fucking
Chuck Schuldiner.
It's
We'll find out here in a second. What was the band? Control Denied.
Control Denied, right? Yeah.
Yep. But yeah, we could give that a shot at some point. Yeah. But yeah, I figured we might as well continue going chronologically.
All right.
Until we hit Sound of Perseverance, then we go back to the granddaddy of them all for Scream Bloody Gore. But yeah, that's it for this episode. So thank you very much. Death Metal December continues next week. We hope you all have a happy Death Metal December between now and then, and a premature happy Chuckmas to everybody.
By the way, feel free to @ me with Christmas gifts. If you're on social media, I am fine.
I don't know if people know your specific social media information, so
good point. I'm not giving that out.
They're gonna
never mind.
Yeah,
Forget I said.
They're gonna @ the Bronze Medalist Twitter, which will never be seen. Sorry, everybody. I never look at that shit.
Yeah. All right.
Speaking of Twitter, check us out there and on Facebook, and we're on Libsyn, and we're on your Apple device and YouTube and other things. Thanks very much for listening to another episode of the Bronze Medalist Podcast. I'm Kale.
I'm OJ.
Congratulations. Hi, everyone. It's not how we start the podcast. Hi, everyone.
Sounds weird. Are you okay?
I don't know why I
giddy up. What's going on here? Hi there.
How do we start the fucking podcast? Hi. What is wrong with me?
It's not like we haven't done it in a while.
Yeah,
it was like 3 days ago.
3 days. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode. Is that what I say?
I don't know.
What is going on?
Now that it's a problem, I can't remember.
I'm gonna pull up an old episode. How the fuck? What is going on with my brain?
I hope you're leaving all of this in there.
I may as well.
Okay.
You need to capture on this tape.
No. Go back to the very beginning of the episode.
That's it. Yeah, there's the opening music.
Okay, come on.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode.
Yeah, I say welcome.
Right. Hi, everyone. Welcome. But you do say hi, everyone.
Yeah, I do say that.